right, we're out here at a friend's house. We're going to do a handicap ramp for him. He just hurt himself. He broke both his feet, actually, in an unfortunate accident. So we're going to try to do this mathematically, and I'll show you how you do this. But we want to run the ramp from the edge of the sidewalk all the way up to the top of this deck. In order to do that, we need to find out what our rise is. Then we'll find our run. Then we'll find our diagonal, which will give us the pitch that we need. So I'll walk you through that today. So Brian's over here. I'm going to level him in. Let's go up, Brian. A little bit. Just a little. Right there, Brian. What's your number?
41 on the back.
41 inches. Okay, so we got a 41-inch rise. Set this down there, Brian. We got a 41-inch rise. Here, can I give you a measurement of that sidewalk edge? What do you got there?
1610 and a half.
All right. We got a Construction Master Pro calculator here. What I do is I type in my rise, which was 41 inches. Okay, and then I type I hit the rise button, and then you said 1610 and a half. Yep. Okay, then 16 foot 10 inches 1/2 is our run. That's the length. Now this will tell us if we hit the diagonal. Hey Brian, can you write this down? It's 206 5/8, and then our pitch is 11.45. That's your slope. Or another way to look at it is 2 7/16. So can you write 2 7/16 down? And also 11.45? All right. So now we'll go cut this board and see how it fits. Actually crown this board. This is the top. So we're going to pull. You cool if I pull here? All right. So our total length to our long point is 206 5/8. So I'm going to make a mark here. Alright. So we're good there. Square on here. And we said that was 11 7/16, right? Which is big, or sorry, 2 7/16. So that's going to be. Alright, so in order to find your long angle, what I do is I come over to these commons on my speed square. I put this mark on my pivot point, and I actually mark right in between, right in this gap. And I want to be right at about 2.5, okay? Then I'll actually square across from this line right across that line, get it started. Then Brian's grabbing that level so we can extend that line out. And that should be the pitch if the sidewalk was perfectly level. Now, yeah, he's gonna have to run that a little further. So there's two ways to do this. We're gonna cut this, and that would be if it was level. So when we cut this board, what's gonna happen is it's gonna set down. It's gonna be touching right here, and it's gonna be high over there. So for the sake of what we've got here, I'm gonna go ahead and set it down, knowing the angle's slightly off for the sidewalk. And then what we'll do is we'll measure whatever that point is off the concrete, and we'll deduct it from this point. So we'll show you what that looks like in a second. The other thing we got to do is figure out what this step is. It's got the same angle over here. I'm going to come in. Alright, so the moment of truth, now that we've got this cut. We measured over here 2 3/4. That's our distance or our gap. So we'll come over here and we'll pull up the same distance, and then we'll draw a straight line, and that should correct that angle like we need. Set, get your other board, find the crown in it, and then trace it and cut your next one. marking 2 foot on center. That's 8 foot, 10 foot, 12 foot, 14 foot, and then the bottom one will just lay on the ground. Top board, the way it's going to sit with the sides and the way it hits the deck, we're going to put a bevel on that top one so that as soon as he hits the deck, he doesn't have any sag in his floor. So when you put a bevel on this top board, what'll happen is that'll catch these boards, and these aren't up tight yet, we can move them up, but that'll catch these boards just like this, and it gives you that nice transition. If we didn't have that, if it was squared, then we'd have to put it here, and it's going to hold you away from the deck. So that's why we put a little bevel on this one. Okay? Next thing we're going to do is put plywood down. We've got our nailers put in place to where the plywood should just lay right on them. Fortunately, the deck was like perfectly 4 foot, so we'll be able to lay this down. We're actually going to use the big screws to screw the plywood down too, just because I think it'll be easier to take apart later. So these are just side rails so that the wheelchair doesn't fall off with the wheels. So Brian just marked 151.5. Now he's going to use his pivot point, and he's going to come back looking at the common numbers to about 2.5 pitch, which is the same pitch we cut everything else at. He'll mark that, and that's his line. We're going to make 2 of those. I'm just going to hold it up. I'm going to hold it up 3 inches. So if I stack 2 blocks, I won't have to chalk a line and do all those measurements. I can just set it here, start my screw, put it on. Set this here again. Make sure everything's the same. And there you go, you got a 3-inch lip. The last thing we want to do is we want to slip proof this right now, because if you walk on that when it's wet, you'll slide. So we've got some ice and water shield. It's got some grit to it, and it's got a self-adhesive back. So Brian and I will lay that down, and then we're ready to ramp Johnny off this sucker. We've got 66 feet of this, so we'll just fill it. We'll actually double layer it. Come across here.